I think we pretty early on wanted to have like very much this kind of like this like kind of strong, protective, like independent character. So we were trying to find like different um, characters that we liked that did that. I think we like pretty much gravitated towards like strong like female like warrior characters basically
Mhm.
in fiction. So that's kind of how we started this, and that was like there's a few like stuff here. So we've got like Furiosa and from Mad Max and Ripley from Alien, and then I don't know if Paul is watching this stream right now, but we've got Pathfinder. Or is this Pathfinder or is this D&D? I can't remember.
This is Pathfinder, I think. I didn't actually
Yeah,
know this character beforehand. I would say probably in my mind, Ripley was the original person I always kind of had in my mind. And
yeah,
Furious also really fits with that. Yeah, so the two on the left were kind of
yeah,
for a long time, I think, have at least been in my mind.
yeah.
Best
In terms
character.
of like attitude, I think because like especially like Ripley is just like a very strong-willed character. If not like physically strong, then like she's like very strong-willed and like keeps relatively cool under pressure, and is like a really intelligent character. Is like it's like and naturally like throughout like the films as well, like she does have this kind of like protective bent as
She kind of rises to become like a natural
yeah,
leader, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
natural leader who rises to the occasion while many others unceremoniously fall. um so but on the right here, like we have like I apologize, I cannot remember which Pathfinder the character this is. This is kind of a very celebrated character, but I cannot.
It's Sela,
Ah,
I
okay,
believe.
yep. Yeah. Kind of like a standout Pathfinder hero, basically. And we have most recently, or not kind of most recently, Brienne of Tarth,
Mhm.
from Game of Thrones, or uh, I'm gonna mess it up. Song of Ice and Fire. Ice and
Yes,
Fire.
yes.
Yes. Okay. I always mix up Ice and Fire and Fire and Ice, even though I've read like all the books and stuff like that. I always, I always mess that up. But anyway, like we thought it would be cool to have like we have like the physical characteristics that we wanted to have was this like strong, like physically large protective character. So it's what we kind of see on the right here, and then we have the strong-willed with protective bent over here on the left. Not these characters on the right do not have a protective bent by any
Yeah,
means.
I think the characters on the right came through more when we really started working with Fen on the visuals, right? These came
Yes.
in later as like a visual reference,
Hmm.
whereas yeah, Ripley and Furiosa were kind of there more as a general character feel reference even before we really
Yes.
started working on the visuals.
Yes, this is true. So that was kind of like inspiration basically for what we wanted to do with the design of the character and the kind of overall attitude. So I am going to switch on over to some of the early sketches for the for Vigil. And want to know. I think this one was earlier. Um, we were
Yes,
trying to
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
we were trying to figure out like in terms of costuming for this character. So we had a small idea, I think, about what we wanted the background of this character to be. And if you notice in all of these images, they're all wearing some kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, some kind of like uniform,
Mhm.
with like nearly militaristic insignia on occasion. So very much like kind of like a constable, like police force enforcer kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean the British police bobby hats there on
We
the bottom
went
too,
a little
especially.
hard at first on that.
Yeah, we definitely pulled that back. I mean, yeah, we had the idea that they were basically part of the city's kind of City Watch
Yes.
faction, who are one of the, I don't want to say minor factions, but not one of the big main mission-giving factions, but one of the factions who are obviously have to exist in some form in this world. And we thought it
Yeah.
makes sense that their overall, commanding presence and all of that would make sense with that kind of background. So that was part of the brief I think that we gave.
Yeah.
that we gave Fen. So it looks like at the top we've got some more like paladin influences, whereas at the
Yes.
bottom there's like the really clear like kind of police influences. But I think clearly these were too much like actual real world police
A little
uniforms.
too
We don't really
close.
want to specifically evoke that necessarily. But having
Yeah.
said that, there are still elements from these which we did kind of bring forwards.
Yep. This is true. Especially, yeah, because, well, what is understood about most of these Steamhounds is that most of them are not necessarily still uh, heavily associated with their like origin faction.
Hmm.
Um, so whether they have left on their own terms or otherwise, like I don't know if they could really always get away with like having current uniforms and stuff like that. Like they're not. There's no way to like keep that stuff pristine. But so we didn't want to go too far into this like pristine uniform that looks like it's fresh off the press, basically. Um, but I think we had some other sketches here after we kind of went through a round of revisions about what this character was about. Pull up another. Well, so here we're starting to get a little bit more of a theme with this like less flowy, showy kind of materials for
Hmm.
their clothes. And also you can see in all of these really wanted to go for that shield plus some kind of baton motif. So they're there in various forms, but they've all got this kind of like shield with some kind of like electricity associated with it, or some kind of like mechanicalness behind the shield, as opposed to it just being, you know, a regular old piece of metal.
Yep.
Because it's steampunk. It can't be that simple. It's gotta be something else has to be going on with it.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
for these, I definitely get vibes of the what are they called? Like the shield barriers in Dishonored. Like those electrical barriers
that's
they have.
true.
And we did ultimately actually move away from this like electrical
Yes.
thing. I think this is something Fen was kind of looking into for a while. But that
Yeah, but
element, as you'll
yeah.
see as we move on, did get switched out. But especially the uniforms, I think in the top left are getting kind of closer, right? We wanted a
Yep.
uniform which has that sense of like some authority, but without being so closely mirrored to an actual like real world, police force or paramilitary force or anything like that. Well, you've got the baton, you've still got these elements which are clearly evocative of like riot shield and baton.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of gosh, Jason, did you see the first reboot Star Wars film? I think it was the first one. They introduced that kind of like shock trooper that has like the extendable like electric baton. I can't remember if they have a shield or
You're
something.
talking about Rogue One.
Was it Rogue One that had that? I don't remember. It's one of the earlier quote reboot ones has that. And it just reminded me a little bit of that. But anyway, a little
Yeah,
bit
I'm
of an
not
aside.
sure. Yeah.
All right, I don't want to like pull that up and be completely wrong, but anyway, yeah. So we've got kind of like our core elements here, which is character. He has like a pretty solid stance. Kind of like just a very solidly built character with these kind of like upper pauldrons here to kind of reinforce that. With the main weaponry being, a short baton slash stick plus some kind of shield, and we kind of really did go with this upper section here.
Yeah. There's even one more element from the bottom right though, which we ended up really liking
Yeah,
from number
eagle
4 there.
eyes. Eagle eyes here. Jason found a small element here, definitely, with this little lantern that I love putting light sources on characters. So that we thought that lantern was very evocative of being part of like the city watch and doing the rounds and being like a quote light in the darkness kind of character.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that there are definitely elements of most of these characters here in these sketches that made it into basically the final product. Basically, that I will go to kind of what we basically ended up with after this. A little bit higher detail, a lot higher detail than before, and we can kind of pick apart a lot of the stuff regarding this character.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it's always fun seeing this image, like going through these images again and seeing how things progressed and the level of detail goes up and up and up and what things get scrapped and what things get carried through the entire way. And one of those things, we're just gonna go through like some of the tech here and the finer details of this design. So we still got this very chunky pauldron kind of piece of clothing on this character, and we still have kind of this like uniform, very heavy materials throughout, because well they need to be protective for this character, kind of like these like heavy boots as well. But there are some like interesting details throughout here. There's a lot of like these like double lines and like groups of two for a lot of these elements, which I thought was interesting. But there's also some really cool tech going into this character as well. We have this kind of like extendable shield here that's built into this kind of like robo pauldron thing. I'm not a pauldron, a bracer, I guess.
Yes, I guess that's a bracer.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bracer, kind of like gosh, what do you call that? Like the small shield? Is that like a targe?
Or like a buckler.
A buckler? Yeah. I'm trying to go through like my Diablo shield knowledge, and that's how like most of my vocabulary for different types of weaponry comes from. But yeah, you could easily see that we have some reinforced areas on the backside of this shield, but it also, you can definitely tell that this entire mechanism here was built to be extended out from a smaller area. So no longer do characters need to hold shields on their backs. When you're in steampunk land, they can just you can just have them on your wrist and everything is okay. But yeah, we also have the relatively low tech extendable stun baton here. Kind of makes sense for this character to have these kind of like extendable kind of weaponry and protective elements, because they're not always going to be in battle necessarily. You have to make your rounds. You have to, go from one place to another. And especially, it kind of behooves you sometimes to be a little bit more discreet with showing what weaponry you do and do not have at any given time. So if you can kind of hide this little baton underneath this tattered cloak, then that's always good. Oh yeah, this cloak is tattered, and there's a reason for that. It's probably because, we'll get into the background of the character once we get some more of the sketches and stuff. But Vigil here, like many Steamhounds, is no longer part of the City Watch. And we did some world building with this character very early on, actually. And kind of came up with this theory, this kind of like rumor that was spreading around that this character was dishonorably discharged, I guess, for having some kind of altercation or disagreement with their superior officer in the Watch. So while they still carry around this regalia, they're not really in a position to place it necessarily. And
yeah, I mean, you'll notice that like they have no like badge, right? There's no
there's no rank.
They're wearing the outfit because it's what they're used to, and it's what they're comfortable using, and they've probably been wearing this stuff for years, but they don't have like the insignia. Yeah, they've got this tattered cloak, and the exact reason why she left the Watch, I think, is going to remain unsaid for now, but this is a kind of gritty world, and there's disagreements and there's corruption, just like in our world. So it's not too hard to think why there may have been reasons why
Yeah, it's not a
this
surprise that
character. Yeah.
strong-willed character who, given their name, their tagline of Vigil, um, they I want to say that they are very much, or at least in their minds, very much interested in doing the right thing, the right way, or at least the way that they think is right. So there could have been an easily a very heated disagreement going on about how things are done and how things are run. So
Yes.
so right now, Vigil is running with what they've got, and yeah, for a mercenary, it kind of behooves you to not be picky about contracts that you pick up. But I could easily see Vigil being a little bit more picky about which contracts they decide to pursue, and that might not be in their best interest for, making money and making ends meet. So they might not they might not have enough money to repair that cloak all the time. Let's just say.
Yeah.
But could easily
Doing the right thing is not always cheap
Yeah, it's not cheap.
or well paying.
Yeah. So while this character may be still well respected in certain pockets of certain factions, and probably, depending on who you are, might be respected by some people on the street, this character has made some enemies and has to be careful about where they go and where they are and how they do their business, basically. So that is kind of Vigil in a nutshell. We do have.
Oh, should we talk about the hair?
Oh yeah, the hair. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, talk about this hair.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is clearly like a Furiosa influence.
Yeah,
or
this is like a Furiosa thing.
This is pre Andrew.
You gotta
Andrew
watch
Heck.
out when we get to PAX. I'm gonna like put on some stilts and cosplay as Vigil.
Yeah.
I have to shave my beard though. That might be a problem.
I mean, yeah. I'm sure if Ben was here, I'm sure he'd speak more to this. But I think we just wanted them to be a badass. We didn't think they care about looking like traditionally feminine. That's not something that's interesting to them. And yeah, that's just kind of the vibe we wanted. We all loved a lot of the references, which are kind of in that direction as well. So that's something so there's definitely visually like the Furiosa or Brienne of Tarth influences are pretty strong with Vigil.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring up like an early headshot that we had as well of the character, just like giving you that kind of attitude going on. You could easily see that this character, I don't know if they've always had this like shortcut crop here, but I could easily see when going the mercenary route, one, long hair is not practical in any way, shape, or form. Two, it's a lot easier to just shave your head, do it yourself, than to needlessly spend money on carefully keeping that up. So this is like, I could see this as a very practical matter of fact kind of decision, but given that this character is very I would say outspoken and very strong-willed, like it very much could have been just like a conscious decision from the get-go, like even before joining or whatever City Watch it is called at this point. So City Watch still has a lot of lore to flesh out with it, but there are definitely some things that we know about it at this point, but we'll go into that at a later date.
Yeah. I think they're the kind of faction who's going to be, since they're not like a quote like playable faction, they're just going to crop up and get fleshed out throughout the various missions and other bits of the story as they kind of naturally intersect with the stuff that you and your Steamhounds are up to.
Yeah, I could easily see the City Watch as a faction that is not like a big mover and shaker. It's not like making plays necessarily. because the City Watch is just kind of like an understood, like, yeah, they're around and they've been here since the inception of this city. But in terms of, you know, I don't know what more they have to gain at this point. I think it's more of like a decaying type of faction that doesn't
Yeah, or
necessarily
they're
have.
more like a pawn that may be played by some of the other influential factions
Yeah, easily.
when they
Yep,
can. Yeah.
definitely. So maybe not one of the big players, but definitely a faction that will you will interact with on a pretty regular basis, probably.
Yes.
They are not a centralized faction that has like one stronghold. It's like easily, you know, they have to quote protect the entire city, so they'll have people everywhere, theoretically at least, or they may be strategically absent from an area, depending on who pays
Yes.
them.
I mean,
Yeah.
we definitely have talked about factions having a lot of like private security. There's a very like cyberpunk thing as well, having the private
Yes.
security corps. So if you're on the home turf of one of the factions, it may not be the City Watcher you encounter. It may be their own hired goons.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just kind of going through some of the other concept art that we were doing with like palette shifts and stuff like that. Not much to say about this necessarily. This was just continuing on with those sketches and trying to figure out the color palettes. And also have like kind of an interesting little sketch here of kind of some of the proposed tech for this like extendo shield.
Yeah,
um,
and being fair, it all like fits. You know?
yeah, it has to work, you know. Uh, so everything kind of works in its own little way. What else do I? I'm gonna dig into my bag of goodies here. So that's basically it for like all the illustrative kind of stuff that we have. There is one more highly detailed image that I'm not sure if we're ready to share yet, but it is there. We're currently working on a lot of like full character illustration, so stay tuned. What else have we got here? You want to go through like the abilities?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
So
think we should go through the abilities and then we can kind of show off like, well, we have all the pixel art and we've kind of shown the pixel art here and there with our various show reel such. Here's hoping that this actually animates. There we go. Oh, it's working. Hooray. So I'm gonna pull up some of the ability, and if forgive me, I'm gonna take a second to wrangle OBS real quick.
that's fine. I'm loving just watching this little show reel. It's been a while since we put this out. I really love this.
Yeah, it's cool. Do you like it?
Yeah. So Warrior was definitely one of the first characters we ever implemented. So when I was very first prototyping this, and it started with the idea of this stance system, and probably the very first two stances I implemented were guard stance and like a
Yes.
ranged support. So obviously a character who can bodily guard another was from the get-go maybe even the very first like stance and character that ever got implemented because it's such an obvious
Yes.
example of what a stance might be. And really this character was then built around that premise. Like you can have guard, they're clearly going to be some kind of tank. And I guess in general we moved less towards them being like an outright damage dealer and more of like a commander, defensive support, encouraging kind of character. Do you think that's fair to say with the
Yeah,
toolkit?
that's definitely fair to say. Yes. Definitely. All right. So I'm starting to throw up some various images here. But we can kind of probably run through some of these abilities, just like the illustrations that we have here, and then can take you all behind the scene a little bit to see what those look like rendered out in full pixel art animation.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna go through these one by one here. On the left, we have our fully rendered out pixel art, or excuse me, our ability icons that we're gonna have in game. Fen did an incredible job on these. And on the left here we have Sentinel. So we're gonna as from what you could remember from the images that we just showed, we really did like that lantern that is hanging on the hip of Vigil right now. So I thought it'd be really cool to kind of show that off and utilize that as that kind of keeping watch and being ready to jump into battle at any time kind of stance. That's definitely what we took inspiration from for this icon. Well, so you know what I can do? I can make this even more interactive. Hold on. I'm probably gonna be switching screens quick.
Okay.
I'm like gonna switch back and forth, I think. There's a new tech. Oh man. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so we're gonna go for a little peek behind the scenes. All right, cool. So now we are behind the scenes. We're in the Matrix.
Almost
yeah.
literally.
Yeah, this is how the sausage is made. So I think maybe we've shown this off before. I'm not 100% sure, but we've shown something similar to this. But we kind of have this animation test bed so we can see how things work in engine. You know, it's one thing to see all these animations by themselves, but putting them in this like 3D space and having them interact with other characters is an entirely different thing. So we were just talking about Sentinel, so I'm gonna play through it a couple of times just so you all can see. This is an action. We have separate animations for getting into the stance itself, having like this kind of like stance idle, getting out of the animation as well. Different animation for when it triggers. They come in, they do a little slash with that baton, hop on back. So it just goes to show that for one move, for one ability, there's actually many moving parts, especially with stances. Because we wanted the characters to feel like the stances are such a core part of our game, and we wanted them to feel natural to transition to and from different stances, to different poses, different attacks, and such.
Yeah.
So
I feel I have to comment that there's a little bit of jankiness still in this, and there are.
Oh yes, there is.
Something we're actively polishing right now is some of these finer transitions and stuff. So you may notice a little bit of like animation snapping, but this will all be cleared up, and it'll be pristine when this version of the game is available to everyone.
Yeah, there's tons of little polish things that still need to go into this. Like even like just things like light sources and stuff like can like heavily polish up all of this stuff as well. You know, making sure characters move to very particular areas on these tiles is also important to make it actually feel like it's like connecting with characters. Even stuff that I'm not sure is existent here. No. Even things like screen shake and like kind of like when a character like hits another character, that like split second of like, you know, it kind of like does that little like frame of stop. Like there's so many things that help with impacts, and definitely like the little bit of screen shake gives that extra like 10% to really sell these animations.
Yeah. Also audio, right? That's your
audio. Yeah, I didn't even go into audio right now. I have consciously turned off the audio for this right now because it's currently, I think the only audio that is in here from the old stuff is like foot shuffling sounds. so I'm like, yeah, we don't just need feet. This is fine. So that also like adds a ton to this. So I mean, it's the whole thing with like watching a movie with no sound on versus watching a movie with sound on. Like especially like stuff like, I don't know, things that are like exciting or like horror movies, stuff like that. It adds so much. Like, not that these animations aren't incredible, because I am absolutely in love with these animations, but it takes a lot to get it takes a lot to even take like a really high quality animation from a very talented artist and actually make it work in game. That's an entirely different skill set. That you think about a lot of different things happening all at once, and to make sure everything kind of like works together it's rather difficult, but
Yeah. Hmm.
makes a huge difference. All right, let's go to another ability here. So next, switch from Sentinel to Guard. So the next ability we have right here, up on top, is just a big kind of illustration of that shield itself, looking pretty imposing. So I think Guard was one of the more self-explanatory animations that we had. But I think the way that this animation got fully rendered out really sells it. We wanted Vigil to be like this character. You cannot move them. That like this character that's like once they
Yeah.
get rooted into their position, they cannot be moved. They're very much like this like statue. And I think I will switch back on over to the Slash is has this beautiful stun baton kind of illustration here. Just basically the warriors' most basic ability that they have. But again, we're probably going to go through a lot of these abilities and go through like a renaming of them as well to better theme them even more than they are now. I think with the warrior, or excuse me, with Vigil, we're pretty close in terms of some of those names. But other ones, since we kind of rethemed some stuff, like Slash made sense at one point more than it does now because it was using a sword, which Slash with that.
Yes.
Stun batons, not so much. It's more of a thwack than a slash. So
We've gone to blunt weapons from
yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit of a difference. But yeah, I don't know. There's just so much energy in right now with the stun baton. So all right, I am going to switch on over to a scene which hopefully has my mic on. Feel free to. Yeah, all right, cool. My mic is actually working now. So, hooray. So we just
lose. Did we lose that? Did we lose that audio of the previous looking at the stances?
Yeah, we did. I can go through it again.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's go through it again real quick.
Should we do it at the end? Should we do stances at the end again?
Yeah, we'll do stances at the end.
Okay.
It'll be fresh.
For the YouTube cut, you know.
For the YouTube cut. So it's just a basic attack. Our slash is even called basic attack here. So it's just a nice little jump in. We have an arc shown from the animation with a little bit of an impact. But overall, this ability is like not the most impactful. Even though we probably have a tiny bit of screen shake here, probably just to like sell that little impact.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like this attack was kind of the basis for a lot of the other abilities, animations. How do we show that kind of big baton smack? But there's still other things to be aware of here, which is, even though this seems like a simple animation, the warrior definitely has to like throw back their shield arm in order to like give a nice little like backhanded flat there. So there's still
like anytime
on.
there's body rotation, it makes the pixel art animation a whole lot harder, basically.
Yes, definitely.
You just can't cheat by moving
yeah,
bits around. You need to actually draw the body at different angles, so it actually takes a lot of work for some of those details.
Yes, definitely. Let's go on to the next ability. This should be Slam. This looks like a slam. So Slam is pretty cool. Anything that uses the shield for stuff as a weapon, I was super excited about. So we're just gonna I'll just show you this because it's really cool.
This has an interesting mechanical effect in that it prevents the opponent from using focus. It didn't used to do that, right? It used to have a different effect, which was kind of boring and not as interesting, but
I
we switched it
believe
out.
it like yeah, I believe it like reduced their speed.
Yeah, yeah, it was a
Uh,
speed debuff. That's right.
yeah, because I remember at one point I think we switched which one was a focus ability between slam and shove,
Mm.
and then in doing so we switched kind of the secondary effects of those abilities slightly, especially with slam. So slam is definitely a lot more. I would say it's a little bit more of a niche ability, but when you use it, is definitely effective in terms of basically preventing your opponent from using focus abilities on turn. So
Yeah, and in some of the recent playtests, we've seen it used pretty effectively for that purpose. So
yeah, I've gotten shut
it
down
was
a couple of
nice.
times by
Yes.
that. Much to my dismay, but yeah. So Worry has a lot of cool kit, so it makes sense to have flashy animations for them as well. There's a little bit of detail here. You can see they're kind of like their bracer kind of glowing after they jump up and they're getting ready to slam back down. There you are. It glows a little bit of that like white
Mm.
orange up there. I thought was a really cool. All right, let's go back to ability. Next one, fire.
It
All
is. I
right,
really like the icon for this pose
it's
there with the
yeah.
with the finger.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like it also it kind of gives me like vibes of like I don't know. It's almost magical in the way it's being presented. Like the focus on that finger is so key with it being like encircled by like the light colored circle, but on the inside of that being dark, and so that like lighter illuminated finger like really stands out really. I think this was very well done, and it's just like such a cool action pose.
Yeah.
Really big fan. So Inspire gives another character focus, which is a very unique ability and a very powerful ability that
Hmm.
kind of enables entire strategies by itself.
Yeah.
So
And strategies where, despite being a big, strong-looking character, Vigil may not end up being the offensive character on your team at
yes,
all. Maybe you may use them to like boost up a utility type character to actually do your DPS, which is kind of interesting, I think.
yeah, definitely. And abilities like this always make me think that the that Vigil should always be doing less damage than they actually do. So we might I'm continuously like forcing myself to like not say like, hey, can we reduce the damage of this character like every single patch? Vigil is just such a strong character that fits into so many team compositions right now. So, however, once we start adding more and more characters, we'll see how much that's actually true in terms of them being like the most effective character for multiple strategies. But let's just say Inspire, a very strong ability.
Yep.
So let's hop on over. Also check my mic again that we're good. Yes, we are. So we've got Inspire. So we've got some I don't know, inspirational words coming out from Vigil there.
I just
Uh,
love the amount of personality in this animation. It's
yeah,
so good.
yeah, kind of like the whole body kind of moves with the rays of that shield there. I think is really important. The flash and the move.
Little eye blink with the like open mouth. It's
Yeah,
there's so much commitment to it.
yes. Which is making me think about what I want to do for the sound effects for this. So I have to get some kind of voice-ish stuff there. So we'll have to strategize in terms of what we
Mm.
want to do for character voicings. Because I don't know if there's many other. There's a couple of other instances that characters kind of speak / move their mouths, especially
Yeah.
with Mordant. Mordant has a couple of things with some of those chants and stuff.
Hmm.
So we'll have to think about what we want to do with that because these are two entirely different things. Where Mordant's kind of stuff is kind of foreboding and creepy and eerie, while
Yes.
Inspire is like the exact opposite of that. So it needs to have some kind of like powerful, positive connotation to this ability.
Yeah, I get the sense that she's probably a little bit like gruff and no nonsense with it, but still in that
Yeah,
inspiring way, right? It's not like, "Come on, guys."
we can do it.
No, it's a bit more
Or like
hard-assed than that probably, but
it's probably, yeah, we are going to do this today, like kind of thing.
yes.
Like this will happen. You will do this. uh, it reminds me of gosh, like the speech that Aragorn gives at Return of the King, with like the red, it's a red day kind of thing.
Mm,
So definitely, kind of speaking with that conviction of knowing that they're on the side of, or at least they think they're on the side of right, and believing in themselves, which is hopefully going to inspire other people to believe, at least believe, if not believe in themselves, then to believe in her. So, all right, and let's go to the last skill. We have the focus ability, Shove. As we said before, Shove used to be a non-focus ability and now is a focus ability. So we kind of needed to switch up the relative like impact of this ability. So now being a focus ability, we wanted it to be really powerful, and the animation needed to reflect that as well. So Shove deals a decent amount of damage to multiple characters, and also it's a very like kinetic ability, so you're moving characters across the screen with it, so there needed to be some force associated with it.
yeah.
So
Shove is yeah. Also, it's kind of a way to counter the warrior or vigil themselves, right? It's a way to somewhat break through their guard stance is to use the warrior yourself, to use vigil yourself and use shove against them.
yeah, come in and we have this kind of like big, a little hop there that kind of sells that extra little bit of
Yeah.
force.
And I'm sure the timing will be tweaked here on the
Oh
the
yes,
slight delay
definitely.
on the
Yep.
throwback there.
It also feels bad that the Vigil right now is about like is entirely head and shoulders over this character. Our characters used to be a lot smaller than than the new models are. So not that Vigil is going to be short by any means. But yeah, we have that like big hop in, small hop to get that little bit of effort, and we'll ricochet a character all the way back as far as they'll go until they hit another character. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been told that my mic got clipped off at one point. I believe. So I'm gonna go back to guard real. We can just talk about that slightly. So yeah, so we've got guard here. Oh man, we said so many glowing things about guard that I'm just gonna have to repeat.
Yes.
Guard is like super like, the thing about guard is that we wanted Vigil to look like absolutely like immovable, just this like this wall basically. And I think that's really sold by the way that this shield impacts the ground, and after the shield hits the ground, even at this angle, it does not move. The entire character moves around it basically. So you have the pauldrons here kind of shake and jiggle. You have the arm in the back goes like straight
Lantern
down. Yeah, the
swinging
lantern
around there.
moves. Yeah, and if you notice there, when this character gets hit in that guard, that lantern. There we go. See, it's little details like that that I think really sell a
What's
lot
that
of.
called? Secondary motion, sympathetic motion. There's a word for that in animation, but
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
not
know
an
enough.
animator, so
I am also not an animator, so. But it's little things like that that make you understand that this character is like a unit as a whole, basically, as opposed to like you just have like a disembodied like shield or a disembodied body that doesn't like transfer like force to other areas.
Mm.
Even there's a little tiny pixel like change with the back foot here on the impact. It's kind of like goes out just a little bit. We have a little bit of smoke kind of coming out from that or dust rather, probably. Um, that's the big secret. All Steamhounds are automatons. No. But yeah, something else that we wanted to do was when it made sense to add a unique knockout animation for characters when they're in certain stances. And since guard is it definitely changes the entire pose of
Yeah.
Vigil. We wanted to show something unique for that. So we'll have this little thing here. All right, we're gonna get hit, kind of crumple behind that shield, but that shield like is still standing. It will not move. It kind of like slumps over forward slightly. But it is so embedded in the ground from that. So you hear it just gets slammed into the ground basically.
Yeah.
And it just oop,
There's that. It reminds me of the little
yeah.
tombstones in Worms. Ever played that?
Oh, some Team 17 stuff here. Oh man, I think I figured out how to make this character permanently be over here, Jason.
Yeah, you
In
broke
the
it.
test bed. Oh yeah, we're really far behind. Oh, you're gonna jump back? Nope. All right, we're permanently on this tile.
What have you done? This is why this is behind the scenes
I've
test
done
bed mode.
nothing. Now that I've broken it, I'm gonna come back out from this. Oh man. But yeah, that is that is what we have for this character right now. So we've shown you kind of going through the beginning character concepts, illustrations for this character, going through their ability icons, so you can see just like from a glance like what these abilities are about, and then also took a peek at some of the mostly finished animations for the character in pixel art. So again, none of this stuff is final. We have many little tiny like polishing rounds to go through to really sell the rest of it. Basically, it's those little things that really add up. So your sound, your juice, like your screen shake, and your that like single frame pause thing, and little flashes of light and light sources and all that kind of stuff.
You're also seeing them in that test stage, which is like super well illuminated.
Yeah,
Some of our actual battle stages are more moody lighting, so the lantern and all of these things are a lot more accentuated by that.
Yes, that's entirely true. Yeah, lighting. I don't know what more to say about lighting other than it's so incredibly important for anything visual in engine, for the lighting to make sense and for the lighting to really sell it. Like just like in like real photography, like lighting can make and break a composition, and that is especially true for games.
Yeah,
so
I think all of our playable characters have some like accent or illuminated
yeah, I
feature
believe
of some
so.
kind, more or
Yep.
less.
Yeah, so I mean that also helps bring the character out from like being like flat kind of 2D image. Like if you add some light, it kind of adds some dimensionality to the character. So
Absolutely.
but yeah, I think that's about it for Vigil. Thank you again, Paul, for catching my muted microphone.
Yes.
But we gave you the recap of why I love the guard ability so so yeah. Well, is there anything else that I have missed, Jason?
I don't know if anyone has any questions. Now's your last chance to
Last
throw those in.
chance. You could never ask anything about Vigil ever again. No, just kidding. But yeah, I'm just gonna pull up some of the showreel stuff to see how everything and all together.
Yep. I guess we can talk about what we'll be doing in upcoming streams. I think the next one we'll maybe do like a playtest, some community battles again.
Yes.
Next time in 2 weeks from now. Maybe there's a couple of slight balance changes and things like that which we had queued up, which I will probably put out in a small patch. But it's been a month or so since we've had any community battles, so it'd be good to get back into that for a little bit. And then probably more lore stuff coming
Yeah.
hot on the tail of that.
Yeah, we still have quite a few characters to explore. We still have at least one large faction to talk about as well.
Hmm.
So that's some very exciting stuff. I don't think UI stuff will ever win the voting for talking about that uh, for a stream. But if anyone
It's
is
so much
ever,
work and it's so important,
it's
and
so much
it's kind of
work.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's still definitely in development right now, but there's some cool stuff to show. So if it wins, it wins. And if it doesn't, that's okay too, because by the time that we show it off, it'll be pretty cool. At least it'll be a lot better than what we have right now. So, but yeah, I'm pretty hyped for that. But yeah, there's a lot of different lore stuff that we can kind of go into as well. It might also be like a interesting thing at some point to talk about how we created lore as well. Like I think it would be interesting to just see like the kind of like the tools that we used. We had some fun doing a lot of the lore stuff as well. So I don't know if we still have any artifacts from that, Jason, because did we end up using Trello for
So
our
we had stuff on Trello and Miro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got some stuff still.
Just thinking about the microscope stuff, which is
Yes, that's all
fun to
there
kind
still.
of poke through and to go off, that kind of thing. But that's for another stream, and that's only if you vote on it.
Yes.
So
Vote early and often.
you can vote on Twitter and on the Discord.
It's a secret. Don't tell anyone that.
It's a secret that I don't want to bother to figure out if people are double voting.
Yes.
But anyway, all right. Well, I think that's gonna do it for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks everybody for watching this on YouTube. Definitely appreciate it. And yeah, as always, you can find us on our Discord. We have a YouTube channel, which if you're watching this from YouTube, thank you. You're already there. Yeah, if you go onto our Discord, you can get a copy of the game as it is so far. So we have a fully playable multiplayer demo that you can play with your friends, or you can play against the AI as well, and just kind of explore the characters that we have so far. We have some more polished characters, and we have some more exploratory characters as well.
Mhm.
So what we have right now, we have about 8 characters, Jason, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
So we have
Wait.
8 characters. 7?
Yes, we do have
7?
8.
Yeah.
We have 8.
We do
yes.
have 8. Yeah.
Yes.
We can't forget about Bolt. Could never forget about Bolt. So yeah, we have 8 characters. Yeah, there's a lot of different team compositions that you can come up with a team of 3. So it's definitely very much a playable and enjoyable game so far. But yeah, hop into Discord, get your copy of the game. If you're not automatically messaged by a bot when you join, just ping one of us, the developers, or there's usually somebody on. And if we're not, just leave us a message somewhere on like the troubleshooting or something. Get you your copy and your login and all that good stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, so until next time, I will see you all later.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in.